What's going on, everyone? This is Jaran Miller with the Arkansas Sports Network. I want to welcome everyone back to another episode of Grillin the Razorbacks. And man, what a tough week it is. I was under the weather a little bit last week, so I didn't get to talk about the Tennessee win and how amazing that was and how much momentum it brought to the program. But then we have the bye week, and we get in the last week, and this big game with LSU at Arkansas. I mean, great attendance, homecoming, over 75,000 there. And we played so lackluster, even though, you know, if you go back and look at the stats, the final stats, they're really pretty even if you look at each team other than rushing yards. Passing yards were almost identical. They were able to run the ball, and a lot of that came in the second half, and they were kind of milking it away in the fourth quarter. But they were able to consistently run the ball a little bit. Arkansas continues to shoot themselves in the foot. The turnovers is what really were the big differences in that game. Another thing I want to talk about real quick is I don't really know what we were doing exactly offensively because, Pittman has always said, Petrino always believes you got to run the football. You got to make them stay, got to stop you. We didn't have the best averages, eventually because Green lost like 24 yards. I think he gained 14 and lost 24, so he had like a net loss of 10 on the night because of all the sacks. But if you remove his yards out, we're around 4 yards a carry without his in there. I think we ended up like 2 yards a carry for us. I think it was 19 for 38. So, but if you take out those 10, it's 19 for 48. And it's even more if you take out all the Green's, average would be if you take out Green stuff. So, 19 runs total, and some of those were when the play broke down and Green's just trying to scramble. We didn't even try to run the ball. It wasn't like they were just completely shutting it down right off the bat. I know Jackson was banged up and he kind of was hobbled around a little bit. The first play of the game, first run he has, he kind of gets up and he's limping. I think he's dealing with a bit of an ankle. I think he came into that game possibly with a little bit of that, or it flared up on that first play is because he kind of nursed it the rest of the night. He only had 5 carries in this game, 20-something yards. Most of them coming on that, I think it was 26 yards. Most of them coming on that last play where he goes out for good. But we really never tried to set up the running game. I had talked to someone, I can't remember who it was, a friend of mine, I believe, a few weeks ago about Blackstock and his struggles at right tackle. And we talked about it on this show and his drop step. And DJ Williams on the 4th and 5 podcast, he had talked about it. And, he really struggled. His footwork has really been a struggle for him. Now, when you get him lined up in just a straight blocking scheme, he normally does pretty good. So, to me, Marion Harris has always been a tackle top build, 6'7", he's around 320 pounds now as they're putting weight back on him. Of course, he was around 370 when he came to Arkansas. So to me, those two guys, I was telling someone this about 2 or 3 weeks ago, that I feel like maybe moving Harris out of tackle. I was kind of thinking when Kudus comes back, what do we do? Because I know Harris emerged when Kudus went out, and he took over that left guard job. One of the issues I feel like we have in today's football, in today's college football world with the NIL and the portal and all that, is you've got these guys that, they're playing tackle somewhere. Like Blackstock was playing tackle in Michigan State last year, and there's that rumor going around that he didn't come to Arkansas out of high school because supposedly he said they couldn't afford him and all that. And then, he struggled this year. Well, the thing is I don't know what those conversations are like. None of us do, but it's probably we need to tackle really bad. Come here, we'll give you money. We'll get you set up with NIL and you can play right tackle. But then when a guy comes in those type of situations and he's struggling, the highest paid position on the offensive line in the NFL is tackles. Tackles make more than anybody else. So a lot of times guys don't want to even think about being moved to guard. So So I was really happy to see that in the bye week, he moved the guard. And, I mean, from what I could tell, there wasn't no fuss about it. I think that's a really good move because Blackstock, when he gets on you, he is a road grader. I mean, I do believe he can be a mauler in there. And I think this could be a really good move for us in the long run. Now, Harris going the right tackle, that's a lot to learn from going inside to out because it's just you're more on an island now. But I think he's got the athletic ability to play it. And, if you go back and watch the game, for the most part, Green's pocket was pretty clean until it got late in the game. And that's when number 40 just started going off, and then he had the tip pass that Green tipped back up and he catches it for the interception at the 5 and falls down around the 2 or 1. That was the difference in the game. We kind of let go of the rope after that. I mean, it had been so tough just moving the ball down the field. We're stuck at 10 points. We'd missed a field goal. And then when that happened, when it was 16-10, they get the ball in like the 2. They score right after that. It just kind of knocked all the wind out of the sails that we had there as we thought, all right, here we go. It's just a one-possession game. And that kind of was the end of it. This game, it wasn't like LSU was that much better than us, really. I mean, they did it. They had a great game plan. They came in, Nussmeier and Coach Kelly and all them. They said, hey, we're just going to take what they give us. And if they're going to play off of us a little bit, soft coverage, we're just going to hit the ball out to them quickly. We'll take the underneath stuff. And that's basically what they did. And our defense kind of did a little bit of a bend, don't break style because of that. And honestly, though, we were able to not break and hold them to a bunch of field goals and the false starts. And I know the crowd plays a big role in that. And the crowd got a lot of those false starts. But at the same time, there was something else going on. I know our movement, Travis Williams does a great job. The D-line coach, they do a great job of getting guys to shift. And we got a few false starts off of that as well. But the crowd was definitely significant. And I didn't feel like the announcers during that game gave the crowd enough credit. It was loud. You could tell it was loud. You could listen to it on TV. So I think there was 7 or 8 of those top penalties. And, I think the crowd was definitely involved in 2 or 3 of them. I think all the shifting definitely was part of a lot of the other ones. So credit there. But, overall, we turned the ball over. Dominion comes in. The one thing I've said about Dominion is he runs high with the football. He stands up too quickly. And when you get like that, it makes ball security even less secure, So it becomes more of an issue for you to hold on to the ball with the contact. You're kind of standing straight up. You got a chance to get popped more. You're getting hit from weird angles where if you're down in this top position running, the ball's not going to come out as easily as when you're up and someone just nails you in the small of the back. And that's kind of what happened in that play. He kind of got popped in the front. Guy came in from behind, got his hand on the ball a little bit as he's wrapping him up. And that was it. If he stays down, gets his pads down, he's not going to have as many of those issues. That's one of the things that I have always noticed about him that was an issue. He's got to clean that up. Of course, we had Satania fumbling late in the game, and then, of course, Green with the deflection. And we're just not good enough right now to have those type of turnovers to a top 10 team especially. Nobody's really that good to do that, and you definitely can't do that if you're not ranked and you're playing a top 10 team. I mean, those are things you've got to clean up. But here are some positives I want to talk about, though. I mean, I do not understand the part where it seemed like we were willing to not even try to run. I understand it. It's tough sledding a little bit, but it didn't seem like we ever really said, hey, I know it's tough sledding, but we're going to get real physical here and go at these guys and see if we can kind of break free and maybe have some counters and things of that nature. And we just never really tried it. So the positives are, I really feel like if you go back to before Green got injured at Tennessee, he's starting to do some things that we've been so, critical about on him early on in the year. Not stepping up in the pocket. He's starting to step up in the pocket pretty routinely. That's a huge jump. I know we lost this game. I know we didn't have a whole bunch of explosive plays, but he's stepping up in the pocket. And if you remember when Petrino was here before, or if you ever followed him, I don't know if you're young watching this and you don't remember when he was here from '08 to 2011. I mean, he always had crossing routes, things underneath. And we hit the crossing routes the other night. They were open. And Green in the Tennessee game had an unbelievable 70% completion percentage. And in this game, he had another high completion percentage, had over 233 yards passing, 230. I want to say it was 238. I could be wrong, but it was in the 230s. And 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He's only got 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions on the year. That is not a good TD interception ratio at this point. I mean, if he's just 10-4, we're probably got 2 more wins right now. We're probably setting it in 6-1 instead of 4-3. So I do like, though, that he is setting in the pocket more and he's starting to read the defenses a little bit more. There's still some balls that come out weird at times, that come out a little behind. There's some guys that he's missing early on his progression that are probably early, his first or second look. But it's a huge improvement, in my opinion, than what we were seeing against UAB and Texas A&M. Huge improvement from those games. So I do like seeing that. I also liked the other night that he stood in the pocket and he stepped up and he was firing the ball. I mean, he was throwing the ball with velocity across the middle on those intermediate routes, hitting guys like Haas and Tesla and, of course, Armstrong. He always loves to hit. And Broden's got so much ability. The guy really struggles high pointing the ball, but he really had some moments in that game. So those are the positives I like. The defense, I mean, I didn't think they were just awful in this game or anything. I think LSU just had a great game plan, kind of took what we gave them underneath, and then kind of late after that turnover, I just feel like the intensity kind of dropped out, and that gave them that last touchdown drive, and then the one that gave them when they got up 27, and then after that, it was another turnover on the Satania fumble. So, and they gave another field goal up or whatever it was after that. I can't remember at this point. But try to block that game out. It was so rough. I'm not a fan. LSU, I hate them worse than any other team. I mean, I know Texas and the rivalry, but I've had so many games and so many seasons spoiled by LSU, and I wasn't going to get into this, but I tell some of my friends and talk about this a lot, but LSU has cost us multiple national championships. A lot of people don't realize that, and Texas has too, of course. The thing is, we just haven't played Texas much. That's fixing to build back up, and it's going to overtake this LSU rivalry that some people have really gotten into over the last 2 decades, 3 decades, since the 90s. I mean, it's still not as big as Texas, even though we're just now starting to really play them again. But if you go back, the 1964 national championship team, we finished the season undefeated. We beat Texas. Of course, you had what was his name? I don't know why I can't think of it, but punt return from Helena. Our coach in the 80s went to Rice, went to Clemson, then he went to Rice. Ken Hatfield. I don't know. I was thinking Ken. I couldn't think of Hatfield for some reason. Anyways, 81-yard punt return. We beat Texas. I believe it was 14-3. Go on, win. Of course, we played Nebraska in the Cotton Bowl, win that one 10-7. And Texas goes on to beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, which gave us the outright national championship in my mind. But back then, the AP poll, they did it before the bowl games. They didn't even count the bowl games back then. So the UPI gave it to us. The AP was Texas. So the next year, they changed the rule because of that. They said, okay, we're not going to do it. We're going to wait till after the bowl game. Well, guess what happens? I believe I'm almost positive, it was Notre Dame, Michigan State, and us all go undefeated. If we go by the rule of the year before, we probably maybe get one of the polls to say we're the national champs. But instead, they all decided to wait until after the bowl, which is the way it should be. And we go on, and guess who we lose? This is our 22 straight wins. Okay, this is the longest winning streak in Razorback football history. We lose to LSU. It was in the Cotton Bowl. So it's an ugly, ugly game. I want to say it was 6-0, if I remember right. Of course, we had another. I get it mixed up with the the Ice Bowl, I think they call it, where we lost to LSU, or we tied them like 3-0 or 6-6 or something like that. But I think we lost that Cotton Bowl to LSU 6-0. I could be wrong there. I wasn't even planning on talking about this, but so that cost us a national championship in 1965. If we win that game in the bowl, we definitely are at least sharing the national championship. So that's the first national championship they cost us. We go to, trying to remember, under Petrino, when we were 1, 2, and 3, Arkansas, it was Alabama, LSU, and Arkansas in the 2011 season. We lose that game. Honey Badger has a punt return after we had a great start. Alonzo Highsmith, Jr., he had that interception return or fumble return. We were up, I want to say 17-7. Then the Honey Badger ran it back, and it changed the whole complexion of the game. We lose. I think that was the year LSU went on to play Bama. It was in the championship, and it was like Courtney Upshaw and that group from Bama. That was so good. It was an unbelievable championship game. Real defensive battle. So there's a second time right there you could say that LSU cost us the national championship, because if we win that game, we go on. We actually don't play. It would have been Bama to play in the SEC championship game, and we know instead Bama played in it and LSU didn't, because I think if I remember right, I remember how that worked out. One of them didn't play in it, and they ended up playing in the BCS title game. So it should have been us if LSU hadn't have beaten us. So, and then the next time was 2000, or actually it was before that. I missed it, but it was McFadden in 2006 when we ripped off 10 in a row after losing to USC. We're playing them. Of course, that's the game where Darren McFadden has the 80-yard touchdown run, and he outruns LaRon Landry, who dives at his leg and kind of tips his leg, and he goes 80 yards, and, he kind of rounded it off like McFadden loved to do at War Memorial. Landry goes on to run a 4.38 electronic 40 at the NFL Combine. So that tells you right there, if you didn't already know, that McFadden was a freak of nature. He also outran Captain Munnerlyn from South Carolina the year he went for 321 next year in 2007. On that 80-yard run, Munnerlyn also was timed under 4.4, like a 4.38 or 4.39 at the NFL Combine, electronic time. So he ran by him like he was setting still. And then if you go back to his freshman year against Georgia, that's pre-toe injury of McFadden. He ran by a first-round draft pick. I can't remember his name. He was a safety for Georgia who, in an interview after the game, said, "That guy's amazing. I mean, he's like going to win a Heisman Trophy top kind of guy one day." That's how amazing he is. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but basically that's what he said. And so those are 3 years. If we don't lose the game in 06, and then we go on to Florida, we would have had even more momentum. Of course, you got the Reggie Fish, try to catch the punt over his shoulder inside the 5, change the whole momentum. We lose 38-28. Florida goes on to play Ohio State in the championship. Yes, in the championship, and just beat the doors off of them, 42-14 or 49-14. Of course, Troy Smith, who they'd given the Heisman to, which that's a whole other side story I don't want to get into, because McFadden was just a sophomore and kind of came on the scene late that year. And Troy Smith was the leader all year, the front runner. But yeah, so that's just a little bit of my history of why I cannot stand LSU. But anyways, so I did like what I'm seeing out of Green. He's staying in the pocket more. I think the switch of Harris and Blackstock is really big. Singletary got a little banged up. That didn't help. Braxton, Danico Slaughter. We got to get all these guys back and healthy. And that's going to help the defense out. Let's talk about Mississippi State real quick as I close out here. Mississippi State is scary because I know they're 1-6 and their record looks awful, but every week they get better. I mean, they almost beat A&M last week. It was a great game. Booth, their running back, that guy gets you give him an inch, he'll take a mile. I mean, he's got great footwork, a great burst, good speed. And Van Buren, their quarterback, I like him. They run a lot of RPO, a lot of read plays. He's going to stretch the defense. He's going to make you play assignment football. If you crash down, he's going to pull the ball out of that mesh, and he's going to get around you for a big play. He can also throw the ball. I started to watch more of their games, and, I mean, he surprises me how well he throws the ball. He's got a strong arm. He reminds me a little bit, no, I don't want to get carried away with this, but he reminds me a little bit of Dak Prescott, and I know that's partially because he played for Mississippi State, and he's a mobile quarterback, but I think he's faster than Dak was, and I don't know if he's got as strong an arm as Dak, but he's got a strong enough arm to make all the throws, and he's kind of, to me, he seems like he's getting more comfortable every game. He's got a lot of plays where he's getting the ball and he's looking guys off, setting his feet. You could tell they've been working things. He's hitting some passes. Now he throws the ball up a little bit. A&M was able to intercept a few. I think he does tuck and run a little too soon. So that's something that we got to play in our favor. Their offense is really good. Their defense, on the other hand, is really not very good at all. They're last in SEC in rushing and passing. So we've got to come out. And if Jackson is still very questionable, like Pittman said on Monday, then, Russell, DeBinion's got to run the ball with ball control, and Russell's got to take it to the next level. And then maybe this is the week we can get Hill back. And, but we should be able to run the ball on these guys, and we should be able to throw the ball on these guys. We're going to have to outscore them a little bit. We have a great defense. I like our chances. But this isn't just some easy game, because Mississippi State is playing their best football of the year right now. So we're not catching them at the best time. But I do think as long as we don't lose any momentum, everybody's still kind of ready to go, and Pittman has his team ready like I think he will, then we should probably go down and get a victory. But if we have a bunch of turnovers, if we lose the turnover battle at Mississippi State, we're probably not going to win this game. So we've got to take care of the football. And I do think that's part of the reason why we're kind of keeping Green in the pocket more, less reads, shorter passes underneath. I think that's all part of the plan, because they know if we can hold on to the football, we can win games. But that's it for this week, guys. I'm Grilling the Razorbacks with Jaran Miller. I thank you all for joining me. Have a good day.